Alright guys, welcome back to Formula 1 news. Huge development in the race for an 11th Formula 1 team on the grid in the future. Cadillac F1, I repeat, Cadillac F1 is now seeming more and more likely with their partnership with Andretti announced in just the last few minutes. This General Motors partnership will seemingly be very difficult indeed for the FIA, Formula 1 and the teams to turn down. And we might have an 11th team on the grid as soon as maybe even 2024. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. Plenty to dive into. This was rumoured from Marshall Pruitt actually a few minutes before it was officially confirmed. This tweet then got deleted, and then we saw this from Andretti Autosport themselves. Two icons, one pursuit. Andretti Autosport is thrilled to support the news of Andretti Global, I guess the parent organisation, and General Motors with Cadillac, two American powerhouses coming together to pursue the opportunity to compete in the FIA Formula 1 World Championship. There we go. This is not the news I expected today, but we talked even yesterday about the fact that, okay, Andretti have been very clear for a long time they want to get into F1, but who are they going to partner with to make that happen? Is it going to be Ford? Is it going to be another manufacturer, even a Porsche that were seemingly interested in F1? Even a Hyundai have expressed their interest. Cadillac is kind of out of nowhere, but nonetheless, it's the fact that Cadillac, owned by General Motors, an absolute powerhouse of auto manufacturing, that are now going to get involved. So there's lots of details on this we shall dive into. Just quickly on Andretti and where they came from. Andretti, founded, I guess, or at least inspired by Mario Andretti, the 1978 F1 world champion Italian-American driver. Honestly, like, his achievements in motorsport, not just in Formula 1 but elsewhere, are incredible. And look, Andretti have been wanting to get involved in F1 for a long time. They've been involved in IndyCar and other motorsport series for years, but they've been very interested for a while now in getting into Formula 1, and it's been a long time since the door has been opened to a potential 11th F1 team. The last time it happened was Haas, about 8 or so years ago now, and now the process is being started again for new teams to enter their bids, and then if any suitable teams are found, and we'll discuss the criteria for that here in a second, then they could be confirmed. The difficulty that Andretti have, and still have to a certain extent, is to prove to the FIA, Formula 1 management, and also the team that have veto powers on this as well, that this is actually beneficial to the sport. Now, it's also been confirmed by other sources that indeed, if accepted, the team would run under the Cadillac brand. Just be hilarious to think about that there's Haas on the grid, American team, there'd also be Cadillac on the grid as an F1 team. It just like sounds hilarious given, you know, what Cadillac, in my head, a Cadillac is this rather than a Formula 1 car, but we'll get back to that here in a second. The other piece of the puzzle here that Planet F1 point out is that yes, they'll race under the name Cadillac if accepted as the 11th F1 team from whenever. No set date for when they're looking to enter. It's about getting approved first, and then it might be 2024, might be 2025. They might just wait until 2026 with the new regulations, the new power unit, of course, which is apparently going to be supplied by Renault. They're going to look for a Cadillac-Renault partnership there. It's absolute madness, but apparently they've been talking for 4 or 5 months. They've now got the deal done, and that they will partner up to make a very competitive bid indeed. There are a few parties that want to get into Formula 1, but this is by far, so far, the most compelling for the sport, and will be difficult for the teams and the Formula 1 guys to turn down. With General Motors wanting to get into the sport, it's well, they definitely will carry a lot of weight. And even Mohammed Ben Sulayem immediately tweets out, basically indeed confirming that he was already prepared for this news because he had a tweet ready to go. I welcome the news of Cadillac and Andretti's partnership, and the FIA looks forward to further discussions on the FIA F1 World Championship expressions of interest process, which has now been opened and is ongoing. Now, it's a bit difficult to get an F1 team. You can't just walk in. Several years ago, it was about surviving as an F1 team on the grid. Now, there's so much interest that they have to try and restrict the amount of teams that actually can get in. Now, this $200 million entry fee, we'll discuss why that's the case here in a second, and whether it's entirely necessary. But other teams, of course, need to agree to this to a certain extent. And Toto Wolff has said, hey, how can you ensure that you're bringing in more money to the sport than you are costing? The 11th team means a 10% dilution. Basically, what happens is the FIA pays out all the prize money to the teams, and if a new team is there, then the prize money being the same, therefore the teams get less. So the new team has to prove they can bring more money to the sport in whatever way that might be, and for that to happen, you've got to be a big manufacturer to come in and make things happen here. Audi, of course, an attractive option, but they're taking over Sauber, right? Alfa Romeo are going. So, you know, for another option, obviously General Motors is one of them under the Cadillac brand, it seems. So this is the criteria for the way this is going to be happening. Now, the last time they did this, there was no candidates identified. I think Haas came in like 2014. A couple of years later, they tried it again. But there's 4 key areas. So first of all, the technical ability and resources of the team, the ability of the team to raise and maintain sufficient funding to allow participation in the championship at a competitive level, the team's experience and human resources, and then the FIA's assessment of the value that the candidate may bring to the championship as a whole. So this is why a General Motors interest, as there obviously is, it's literally been confirmed, would tick a lot of these boxes, right? Okay, you don't necessarily know about the ability and the resources, but given enough lead time, Andretti's experience in other motorsports, they could raise at least a competitive team, and they obviously tick the boxes with motorsport experience from Andretti's side, the value they should bring to the championship from Cadillac side and General Motors side, and obviously the funding is going to be there, no problem at all. So that is why they tick a lot of these boxes with this new entrance. And this is the other side of things, though, the $200 million fee. So as Toto Wolff has said, each team, if the team comes in, how do you demonstrate you're bringing in more money than it is costing? And a couple of months ago, Toto Wolff was saying, he reckons that Audi were more attractive than Andretti for these reasons. Audi are coming in anyway from 2026, but not as an 11th team. They are taking over Sauber. So if there is to be an 11th team, then they've got to also prove the same thing, and GM is a strong one. Now, due to this Concord agreement that basically means that the prize money is slightly more equitably delivered between the teams, in order to counteract the dilution, the teams would have to cough up $200 million, quite a significant sum. But even Günther Steiner has said that actually nowadays, after this agreement has been signed, Formula 1 is more valuable than it used to be, and therefore a new team should have to pay more than 200 mil, 250, 300, whatever. So whether that's required or what the case is, this is the issue that I think is the key point here. The FIA is probably down for this. Why would they not be? Formula 1 management is probably down for this. Whether they can get the teams to agree, because getting all the teams on side or whatever exactly needs to happen there, whether the teams can veto it if too many of them disagree. And obviously the other factor is if it's going to be a competitive outfit, then, do the teams want an additional competitor? Maybe not. So, that's why it's going to be a joint decision between the governing body, the rights holder, which is the Formula 1 management group, and the existing teams. The parties would all have to be kind of content to, with the compromise on this to make it happen. So it's far from guaranteed. It's not, a slam dunk this is going to be happening, but nonetheless, this has taken some big steps over just the last few minutes. And of course, this is what Toto Wolff said back in August. Andretti is a great name, but this is sport and this is business, and we need to understand what it is you can provide to the sport. A GM Cadillac, it's so crazy. I think Cadillac F1 could be a thing, but it's honestly not too far away at this point. Just to mention a couple of other potential entrants also, there's been this Panthera group that have been interested for a couple of years. They will also be putting in some sort of bid, and this is why it maybe makes Andretti's bid even more attractive, because if Panthera are trying to make it happen, whoever those guys are, if also this guy Calvin Lowe, a Hong Kong billionaire, he also wants to get involved from 2026. If these guys are going to put in bids, then and obviously don't have the backing of something like a GM, then by consequence that makes Andretti Cadillac GM bid look even more attractive. So one of the things, there are a lot of interest here, and as I say, there's Porsche, there's Hyundai, there's Ford that have all expressed interest over the last couple of months. Whether they can partner up with anyone and come up with a competing bid, who knows? But the more the merrier here, and the more likely it becomes that one team will be accepted. And of course, we have a leading candidate over these recent developments. So very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Quick couple of things to mention before we close out here. The F1 2023 confirmed car launch dates. These are the 4 that we know so far. 6 teams still to be confirmed. As I say, for 24 and beyond, there could be more than just 10 teams looking to confirm a car. Also, the fans voted for the best races of 2022. I would say the best weekend of the year from Friday to Sunday was probably Sao Paulo. The best race to me was hands down in Silverstone, and there's some other candidates here. So Great Britain, Sao Paulo, Bahrain, Belgium got 5% of the votes. I guess there was a lot of action at Belgium, but it was kind of boring after the first 15 laps or so. And then Hungary as well, which was a pretty cracking race to be honest, but not if you were a Ferrari fan. And speaking of Ferrari, they say miss you F1, see you in Bahrain in only 49 days. Surprising how close that feels, I suppose, to, but I guess that is the first Grand Prix of the season, with testing happening end of next month, or maybe that's testing, not exactly sure. more on what the dates transfer into. But yeah, what do you guys think? Cadillac F1, is this just a crazy fever dream that's not going to be a reality? But it's funny that with GM making their entrance here, they're going for the Cadillac brand to be, you know, when I think of a Cadillac, I think of something like this. I think of that image I showed you guys earlier. There's infinite jokes just ready to be made on stuff like this as well. On you know, let's just say last season Mercedes and others have problems with their ride height. Cadillac obviously won't have any of those issues based on their heritage and some of the cars that they've built, but also some of their, you know, active suspensions on their lowrider cars might need to be dealt with for the Formula One side. But I mean, yeah, usually a slow car, we call it a tractor in Formula One. I wonder if there's going to be a new name, but of course, look, obviously Cadillac will be hoping they can be more competitive, and it is nonetheless an exciting development for the sport. So very much enjoyed your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.